Well, LeEtta, thank you so much for being here. LeEtta Felter is a candidate for the Olathe District Council Ward 3 position. And on behalf of the Olathe Chamber, again, thank you for being here. I want to get started with asking you just to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're seeking this office.
Well, thank you, Natalie, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting this forum. In the age of pandemic, we're kind of getting good at it, but for you to carve out time, I'm so grateful. And I'm running for City Council, which is something I really, quite honestly, never thought I would do. But it was an open seat. And after our beloved Mayor Mike Copeland passed away, I started just paying attention and I thought, you know what? I think I can help. I think there's a spot for me there and threw my hat in the ring. I love public policy and have a track record of good, solid, middle of the road, sensible public policy. I've been on the Olathe School Board for over a decade, and that's what made me interested in the City Council. Was just there was a spot open, and I'm like, I think I can help. So filed to do so.
Well, that's great. You want to tell me maybe about your top three policy issues that you think are important if you're elected to the City Council?
Yeah, I would be honored to. So I served on the Olathe 2040 Advisory Council, and we spent, probably over 18 months seeking input from our community, intentionally engaging at every level you can imagine possible, and heard from thousands of Olathians. So I'd say my overarching priority would be to implement the strategic plan that came out of that entire process. We have a lot of resources, time, energy, effort, experts that guided us through that. And out of that came, I don't know if we would call them pillars, but it's essentially the way that we want to do what we do going forward in Olathe. And it's quality services. Olathians love the services provided here, from streets to our trash to quality, best tasting water. We win all kinds of awards, and fire, of course, and police. And so the safety elements. So I would want to, of course, continue that. I have a big focus on business and economic development. I think post-pandemic, we have some of the best opportunities to recruit new businesses, develop new businesses, recruit existing companies to relocate here. Hopefully, headquarters be relocated here. We're central, almost in the smack dab middle of the United States. We've got great infrastructure, quality of life, fantastic schools, and I would say essentially also community building. Again, there seems to have been in the pandemic an opportunity to kind of drive a wedge in certain areas of our community and lives together. And really, I think Olathians historically know we're better together. It's great to have diversity of thought and diversity in general, and bringing everybody to the table and be able to make our city continue to be the excellent city that it is to live in, work in, play in, retire in, start a business, raise your kids. You can do everything you want to do here except for ski or go to the ocean. But hey, you can go on vacations for those things.
Well, that really leads into my next question, and that is, what are your views in the Olathe citizens receive for their local tax dollars? What changes, if any, would you make to the city budget?
Well, Olathians, let me back up. One thing that the city of Olathe is fantastic about doing is communication in general, but very intentionally seeking out and listening to the thoughts of our citizens. And we do that through ETC, a locally based business that does what's called the Direction Finder. And people, like 94% of our citizens are pleased with the quality of services they're getting. And in the mid 70% believe that it's a great value for the services received. I mean, we can always look for cost savings and efficiencies and reduction of any duplication of effort. But I would say in general, the results of the Direction Finder show that Olathians love their services and believe that they get value for their tax dollar.
So great. So over the last 20 years, maybe 30 years, the city of Olathe's development has outpaced the other Johnson County cities. How would you continue this high quality growth in Olathe And what role, if any, do you believe the city plays in that growth of economic development to bring our jobs and capital investment to Olathe?
Thank you for that's a fantastic question. The city plays a huge part in all things economic development, but not just the city, the Chamber of Commerce, which is our partner in economic development. We have all kinds of tools in our tool chest to make Olathe even a more desirable city in which to recruit and develop and build and headquarter businesses. Our infrastructure is fantastic, ease of use, livability, all of these things come together to make Olathe a fantastic place for commerce. And so we must always be mindful to foster and nurture and care the businesses that are already here, care for them, and make our city desirable for businesses to come to. And I'm very grateful for the Chamber's hard work in this specific area of city governance.
There is a great partnership, so thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, what do you think are the three greatest opportunities or challenges for the Olathe economy in the next 10 years? And how would you capitalize on those?
Well, I think like you're hearing everywhere across the United States, but for sure, employers here in Olathe are saying we're having a hard time getting employees, period. But employees that are trained to jump right in and work in our organization. So, making Olathe a city that employees can have access to housing, access to transportation, um, so that our companies in our city boundaries are able to access those employees is a huge issue. It's facing all industries throughout the United States. Even big cities are having a hard time. I mean, because there's livability factors there that don't necessarily apply to Olathe. We're spread out and a little bit harder to get around on foot, where the density in cities, people can walk, but even big cities are having a hard time finding good employees. So I think part of it is I love the idea of grow your own. And being on the Olathe School Board, we've done some real intentional efforts of developing avenues so that students can stay here after they graduate high school if they go kind of the VOTEC or technical training route or college route, or they want to go right into working locally. We want to keep them here in Olathe, and hopefully their families want them to stay here too. But it's a great place to thrive as an individual. So that's the first factor. And then kind of dovetailed in with that is affordable housing or accessible housing. And that is a very complicated issue in and of itself because it costs more. I mean, if you're paying attention to lumber prices, permits cost a lot. The whole process of just building a home is a lot more expensive than it used to be. There's a lot of reasons for that. They're also much safer than they used to be, in theory, with the code structures. So if we can just always be mindful of having access to at least accessible housing or affordable housing, it allows that employee issue to work well for our companies in Olathe. And then I would say, I mean, there's several things vying for the third spot, but I would say a maintenance of our infrastructure. And as part of that, I wanted to say public safety is part of, although it's not an infrastructure, it costs money to keep being excellent. So we have great roads and very well thought out accessibility to our highways and our schools. And on top of that is a layer of public safety. I think it just gets more and more expensive to maintain those sort of comforts and critical infrastructures for a city. And so I would say that's a challenge for sure, while maintaining a good cost of living for our folks here.
Well, LeEtta, I got one last question for you.
Okay.
What do you think most distinguishes you from your opponents in this primary race?
Well, thank you. As we were kind of fine tuning our video and our audio, you and I were talking about how awesome it is that there are 6 people that have filed for an open seat for the city council. So yay, Olathe, you've got people willing to step up and help and plug in and make a difference. And that's very rare. I know a lot of cities that are having to like bang on doors and recruit people. Could you help? So first of all, I'm grateful for that. The thing that I believe separates me from the rest of the folks, which I'm unfamiliar with pretty much all of them, is I have 10 plus years of public service. I'm the longest current serving member on the Olathe Public Schools Board of Education. I'm known for plugging in and helping wherever I can. We started our business here, oh boy, in 1997. We grew it over 20 years and over that time grew from one little business to a thriving truck and equipment dealership organization that was in 5 states, 7 dealerships with over 300 employees. And we had a lot of those employees based right here in Olathe, where our headquarters were. So I have that experience. And I believe that my mind for business, my heart for charity, and I love Olathians. I think it sets me greatly apart. Thank you for asking.
Well, LeEtta, thank you so much for joining me today for this candidate interview. I really appreciate you participating. And on behalf of the Olathe Chamber and our members, I wish you the best of luck in your campaign.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, Natalie.